Hello, and thank you for joining me today as I give you an update on my 1993 Ford Mustang Cobra rebuild project. So far I've gotten the upper GT40 intake off, and I've gone ahead and disconnected all the connectors for the fuel injector fuel rail and labeled and covered them up so I don't get any spiders in there. I've also had to remove the heater pipe here. This out here, this thing right here, the heater pipe, because it has this bracket down here. Let's see if I can get that out. That bracket right there went over that. Let's see if I can get that bolt for that held down the lower intake. So I had to remove the heater tube from up here. There's this this part right down here. Took 1 1/8 inches to get this out of the lower intake. And then another issue with removing that is you can see right here you don't have a whole lot of clearance between the fuel rail and that heater tube. So I had to disconnect the fuel rail. There's one bolt there, another one there, and I went ahead and cleaned up and used parts cleaner before I pulled out the injectors around the opening there, so nothing would fall in when I pulled them out. Once I had those two bolts out and the fuel lines were already disconnected, it was rather easy, just a little effort to wiggle and pull, and the injectors came out. Gave myself enough clearance to go ahead and unbolt this here. Like I said, 1 1/8 inches open end wrench took care of that just fine. Gave me enough clearance here. I got this up, got the heater pipe out, no problem. Gave me access to that bolt. So now I have access to all the bolts on the lower intake manifold. All the connectors are undone, covered, and labeled, so I remember where they go. And it looks like, oh, and also, let me see here. Also, I had this ground wire back here that bolted to the back of the, I think it's on the head, and it also contained this main ground strap. That bolt has been on there for the entire life of the car, and since it was in the cast iron head, it required a couple days of WD-40 penetrating oil to break that thing free. I didn't want to strip that out, because if you strip something out back here, you got a problem. So I went ahead and like I said, sprayed that a couple days, and it came out no problem. Looks like all I have left to do now is remove the distributor. As you can see, this is the lower intake here, and it doesn't look like we have clearance in this area. Let's see if I can get in there. Yeah, it just doesn't look like I'm going to be able to pull up on that intake. Oops, there we go. Right down here, you can see here's the little space here where the intake is, and it's kind of, distributor goes right over it. So it looks like I'm going to have to pull the distributor to be able to get the lower intake out. And then after that, we'll move on to the heads, and that should be pretty straightforward. Pretty much got everything out of our way for that job. So once I get the lower intake manifold, like I said, I want to remove it all as one unit with the fuel rails and fuel injectors intact. I don't want to have everything separate and dangling. Once I get it all out, I'll go ahead and disconnect the injectors and the rail and get that lower intake cleaned up. I'm looking into possibly port matching it with the upper. You know, in this portion, I've already ground the upper to fit the gasket, and I'm gonna put these two together, mate them together, and make sure that all the holes match. I'm not gonna polish it or anything, just a little grinding to make sure the holes line up. I figure that can help. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I just need to get that lower off, get the heads off, and we can get those rebuilt and start getting this thing back together. Got a few loose ends to tie up. We got a evap line here that's all cracked and brittle. I'm going to go ahead and replace that. We got, like I said, the upper intake's been removed. It's been cleaned up. New vacuum lines, new PVC, so that's ready to go in. And I port matched that. The holes on the bottom the intake didn't match the holes in the gasket. So I went ahead and expanded the intake holes to match the gasket and to match the lower here. So hopefully that helps improve airflow and get a little horsepower boost out of this as well. But alright, that's about it right now. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Next step will be the lower intake removed, and then off with the heads. Alright, well thank you for watching. Please stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.